Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us. As we do every week, our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
Working Fans Podcast, we're back. First is, it's the man they call Dave. We got AJ Strangebrew in the house. And today we're talking prospects. Who's the bigger potential star? All right. Now, I got votes over here AJ doesn't know about. I do. Today, I'm taking the argument of Keith Lee, and AJ will be taking the argument of Jungle Boy. Last time we did this, I believe AJ started off, so I will do the honors to start it off. I'll start it off this time. I got Keith Lee. Here's the deal. Keith Lee, amazing big man in the sport. He does things that nobody else can do. He's better on the mic, although I'm not saying that like by a mile wide. That's my opinion. At the end of the day, as long as Keith Lee doesn't get injured, which there is more of a chance with a guy like his size and his style, as long as he doesn't do that, he's got the more potential in my opinion. Now, before I give you a rebuttal here, I again want to go to Scott on this one. Scott just wrote, this guy is so in-depth, it was almost like having cheat notes. I gotta tell him. All right, so here's what Scott had to say. I'm biased in saying Keith Lee. He points out he's biased. But it's also unfair since they are two different animals. Keith is so well-rounded for a big man. He could have been this generation's Vader if he had been booked as a heel. He's super charismatic and has a lot of experience. I think him showing how agile he is could have hurt him a little because it'll be expected. But his promo skills are way better than Jack's right now, and he's more captivating to watch because he shouldn't be able to do the shit he does. However, Keith is probably coming into his prime now where Jungle Boy is still super young, in great shape, and is already stealing shows. Just a few years in and so much potential. I appreciate AEW being subtle about reminding people that he's Luke Perry's kid because he doesn't need that to be over. Other companies would probably use that stuff to hype him. In short, Keith Lee checks all the boxes for a huge star now, and Jungle Boy could be that big investment somewhere down the road. Well done, Scott, again. AJ, though, Jungle Boy is your boy here in this argument. What do we got?
Absolutely well done, Scott. Always love to hear from Scott. Now, here's my rebuttal. We're talking about who's the bigger prospect. Keith Lee is in his late 30s, and Jungle Boy Jack Barry is 22 years old. So going into the future, double check that for me. I could be wrong.
Keith Lee's 35.
That would be mid to late 30s.
All right, well, not 38.
But still, 35 years old compared to, I think, Jack Barry's 22, if I'm correct.
I'm going to find that out. He is 23. You're pretty close, so
yeah,
good.
So you're talking about somebody being in their prime when they should be in their prime compared to somebody who actually is a prospect and somebody who has a lot of future.
Right.
What I like about Jungle Boy is, I know we've already touched about the fact that his promos are not there quite yet, but in fairness, he really hasn't talked. The Jungle Boy character at first when they brought it out was not supposed to talk. He was supposed to be coming out of the jungle and not him and the dinosaur, Luchasaurus, they weren't supposed to talk. And that was the whole gimmick, that they're from the jungle and from the... So I can't really hold that against him yet. What I have seen is him interact with MJF. I've seen him interact with Cody Rhodes, and he has held his own in both situations. And he has looked phenomenal. Does he? Now, here's what might be holding him back, and I'm going to argue against him in this one situation. AEW, he's got a bright future because they're not going to hold his size against him.
Right.
Does he have a future at all in a place like the WWE where Keith Lee is exactly what they're looking for? That's debatable.
However, he's so young, Vince could die.
Yeah, and they could just pump him full of steroids and make him look like freaking Benoit.
That would never happen. Never happen. Allegedly. Anyway.
Allegedly. Sorry.
I guess the thing I'm struggling with here, and I have decided Keith Lee, is almost like how do we define prospect, right? Because, I mean, like Scott said, Keith is kind of like the better talent right now, so you could say he's the better prospect at this point, but we don't know how many years these guys have. And but on paper, it does look like Jungle Boy should have more years ahead of him, a lot more.
And that's where I'm going at this with you, is that to me, the future prospect is what do you have 5 years down the road? Mm-hmm. Well, 5 years down the road, I have a guy who's over 300 pounds who we saw what happened with Vader, who was incredibly agile. We saw what happened with Bam Bam Bigelow, who was incredibly agile. When you have a lot of weight on those joints and you do those amazing things, eventually the wear and tear on those joints is going to beat you up and is going to hurt you because nobody beats Father Time. So when it comes to being a prospect for the next 2 years or 3 years, 4 years, I think Keith Lee's absolutely amazing, and they should get him to. I love having him in NXT, but he needs to be on Raw or on SmackDown sooner than later.
Yeah,
if they want to use him in that capacity,
he's a guy we don't necessarily like to see guys move up sometimes, but with Lee, I think we both agree he's a guy we could see believable beating guys like Brock Lesnar and being at next level, and it's almost hard to mess him up. They could.
Here's the problem. I love Gargano, and I'm going to use Gargano actually as an example when I talk about.
You can use Ciampa too, probably, but I know what you're going with.
Yeah, but I'm going to use both of them as an example when I talk about Perry after about Jungle Boy. But right now, I'm going to actually use him as an example as to why Keith Lee needs to move up. Keith Lee, unfortunately, due to his size and abilities, is not believable against either one of them. When he's in there with Gargano, I believe that he literally could kill Gargano in about 3 seconds. Because not just because of his size, but because of his speed, his agility, the fact that he moves fast enough where he can actually catch Gargano. It's not like Rey Mysterio against Big Show where you're like, there's no way he could actually catch him.
Yeah, I like that you throw that in there. Whereas anyone who knows AJ deep down knows he has a biasness towards short people and doesn't believe they have believability. But that's okay. I know where he's getting at with this. Again, at the end of the day, AJ was good enough to say in the last segment that he did have to concede Brett over Perfect. This segment's a little closer. I think AJ really is going to stand behind Jungle Boy in this one.
Oh, I absolutely
am. And I think that's because that's how you define prospect. And that's a little tough for me. I want to be the gentleman, but it's so tough for me just like to say I want to be real. So it's like, in the next 5 years... Here's the thing.
We're arguing who's going to have the better all-around career.
Okay.
To me, I don't think we can argue that yet because Jungle Boy is so young.
Right.
And I don't think he's done anywhere near enough to show us what his career will be.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're debating right now is who's going to be the future prospects. To me, Keith Lee's not a future prospect. Keith Lee is now.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough because they need to do something with him. And they could be soon. He's got a thing coming up. They might put both straps on him at NXT, it looks like. It's a possibility.
But unfortunately, once again, at his size, he's one knee injury away. He's one sore body part away from being done.
So the ultimate thing for me here is how we define prospect. At the end of the day, you're selling. Okay, so if this was a stock, I guess I would buy stock in Keith Lee right now because I'd be looking to get that quick payday. But if I was if I was going to be there for the long haul, Jungle Boy is definitely a guy I'm going to invest in because it's.
I was going to say it's two different investments. One is a long-term investment, and one is a short-term investment.
Right.
If you're looking for that short-term dividend, Keith Lee definitely is the man to go with right now. But once again, we've got Jungle Boy versus MJF coming up, and I don't know about you, I'm looking forward to that freaking match.
No, those guys are going to tear the house down. And that could be one of the great rivalries, I think, that we're going to see as time goes on with this. Again, I do want to read one more vote. This was from our producer, Joe. Got to include Joe in this.
Oh, did he pick neither?
He picked Lee this time. He actually picked Lee. He said, even though he said it's not a big deal, he said Jungle Boy has the famous last name to give him that boost. Lee has made a name for himself, though, by sheer talent, the rare athletic big man that can do it all.
Wow. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's just tough. But that's a lot of people are going to say. It's like I had another vote too where people just said Lee has proven so far. So here's what I'm going to do.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about prospects.
Right, we're talking about prospects. So here's at the end of the day, I'm going to say this prospect conversation might not have been a fair shake at the end of the day as a topic. That wasn't the plan, but I think that's what happened here.
Well, this ended up being career versus career.
In a way.
And not prospect versus prospect.
Right. So I'm just going to call I'm going to just chalk it in. I'm not going to concede this week. I will concede at times. We'll see as time goes on.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not going to say, I'm going to fold on this one. I'm getting out either way. I'm going to pull the Joe. I'm not going to make a decision here.
Wow.
Because I don't think it is fair. But I are going to go to the votes. The votes will decide. The fans will decide. And Keith Lee won this week 6-2. But I think, again, I'm going to give AJ his due. I think a lot of that has to do based off what he's done now. And if we're defining prospect, that's where we're getting. Now, here's the thing. Keith Lee could defy all odds and have another great career of 15 more years.
Maybe he does.
Right.
And I hope. Let's be clear about something.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about something.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he does.
I believe you.
I love Keith Lee.
Right.
Not only do I love Keith Lee, I love him with Mia Yim.
Yeah, and he doesn't have that thing you don't like, that disease, short. Short
hey,
people.
not everybody can catch that. I got vaccinated as a child. I ended up at about 6'3".
The only reason why you're actually a big Jungle Boy fan, too, is you actually, even though you're a wrestling guy, pure wrestling guy, you actually loved his dad. You were a big Luke Perry fan.
Well, here's the funny thing, because people are going to think I was a Beverly Hills 90210 fan by you saying that, and that is not actually the case. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that his dad came across almost like a new generation James Dean, where he was the every guy kid who just seemed respectful. The whole reason his son got into wrestling was because Luke took him to go see those shows down in California for PWG and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He actually loved wrestling.
He did.
Anybody who supports wrestling like that I'm always going to be a mark for.
Yeah,
Let's be clear about that.
Super cool. Super cool. All right. So that's it. At the end of the day, the fans voted for Keith Lee. By the way, the 2 votes for Jungle Boy, the St. John's, Jake and Zach coming through for you in the clutch.
By the way, all 3 of us that went for the smaller guy, all well over 6 feet tall.
Yeah, the tallest guys, I would probably say, in this whole group of fans. Yes. All right, folks, that's it. Working Fans Podcast. We are limitless this week, and we're out.
Nice. I like
that.
All right, so we'll do like what we just did, but except this time I'll hit record.
The music got to me.
What the fuck?
But the music gets to us all. All right, everybody, welcome back for another week of the 531, where we take our top 5 lists on a particular subject, vote it down to a top 3 list, and then further debate that down to the number 1 of that week's particular subject. Dave, you got a pretty interesting topic for us this week. Can you tell the people what you came up with?
We got the top 5 greatest tag teams that never reached their full potential. So teams with a lot of talent, a lot of potential, but they just didn't quite make it as far as we had hoped.
So it's the top 5 tag teams that weren't the greatest.
They had the greatest potential, though, by God.
Sure.
All right, Dave, why don't you give us the first list that kind of to give the people an idea of what we're looking at for a topic?
Yeah, I'll give you an idea what you're looking at. I'll start off with Scott from Voluntown. We got the Rockers because they technically never actually won the tag titles in the record book. It was never acknowledged. By WWE, I mean. I know AJ's going to talk about AWA, so let me beat that right there. The Hollywood Blondes, Tillman and Austin, Doug Furness and Phil LaFon, and Paul London and Brian Kendrick. And I feel like Scott must have sent me another list, another team, because that's only 4. So, Joe, well, you go with your list, and I'm going to go find out what
Wait a minute. Before he goes with his list, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
Phil LaFon and Doug Furness may not have reached their full potential in WWE, and this has not reached their full potential in WWE, to the best of my knowledge. The list that we're doing, they were absolutely incredibly over and were maybe one of the greatest tag teams in Japan of all time. So they did reach their potential, just not in an American market. I just want to touch that real quick.
And I have to agree with the Rockers, too, because given Shawn Michaels' talent and Marty Jannetty's potential, they should have been a lot bigger, I think, than what they were.
Plus, Marty Jannetty's willing to kill a motherfucker to get over.
and for the record,
I thought it was to not get his dick sucked.
Oh,
or to not have to suck a dick. I don't know which way it works.
Either way.
The other team was the Can-Am Connection. Scott, I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, Chris Zauha from Illinois got us a list. He's got the Hollywood Blondes, the 92-93 version. He has Haas and Benjamin, American Alpha, Power and Glory, and Arn and Bobby.
Can we just say, for the record, as these lists come out, unless specified, when they say the Hollywood Blondes, they're talking about filming in Austin.
Really? They're not talking about the 70s version of the Hollywood Blondes, huh?
Well, because I know you might bring them up. So.
I can't wait till AJ brings up the Hackenschmidt team.
Yeah, I can definitely see that coming.
You know, the one-off at the World's Fair in 19. All right, Dave.
I do want to clarify. I do want to clarify one thing. There's a big difference between a team not reaching their potential because of injury or not reaching their potential, like I heard the Can-Am Connection mentioned. And the reason why the Can-Am Connection didn't work out was because Tom Zink left for WCW. So there's a difference between injury and somebody leaving the federation and a team that actually stays together and just doesn't reach potential.
Oh, yeah. We're going to see a whole variety of that.
Before I read the next list, I just want to say a quick Tom Zink story if you never heard it. Tom Zink was working in the Mid-South territory, and his father had passed away, and he told Bill Watts, I just can't do this one shot. I'll be back in like 2 weeks. My father passed away. And Bill Watts responded, looked at this man with all the kindness and compassion in the world, said, I didn't know you were a flake. Get the hell out of here. And then apologized to the jobber who had to do the job to Tom Zink. I'm sorry I made you do that, boy. Bill Watts was a great man.
Very humanitarian.
He's still alive.
He cared about his life. Yeah, he is.
Also, I want to make sure that we realize, also not a racist.
Right. Anyway, as Ron Simmons said, well, he didn't show me the hood.
All right, Dave, who do you have next for a list?
We got Jake from Grizzle, Jake St. John.
Author and friend of the show.
Hollywood Blondes. Great friend of the show. Hollywood Blondes, the Rockers, Power and Glory, the Skyscrapers, Sid Vicious and Danny Spivey, and the Killer Elite Squad.
Oh.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mm.
All right, the next list I have is from Kenny Culler of Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group. He's got Eaton and Regal, Superheroes in Training, Chuck and Billy, and Team Angle. He only gave us 4.
Dude, that Eaton and Regal is worth 2.
That's worth 2.
The Blue Blood.
Absolutely love that.
That's the second time that Eaton has shown up on the list as part of 2 different teams.
He'll be showing up again.
Dave, who do you have next?
We got Zach St. John, the enforcer of the St. John, the baby brother. He's got the Hollywood Blondes, America's Most Wanted, which I really like that because Storm and Harris were also a very good team. Everybody always thinks about beer money, but Harris ended up leaving early to go to WWE and became Braden Walker. Well, that's another story. Pretty Wonderful, Paul Roma and Mr. Wonderful.
That's a good one.
The Skyscrapers again. And he's also got Chris Candido and Lance Storm, who said he just loved that team and wished they would have done more with them.
First of all, great list. Second of all, I'm pretty sure he prefers to go by as Booger Red.
Booger Red, yeah.
According to Eddie Mansfield,
Anyway.
apparently. But Tim Hartford brings us a list. He's got the British Bulldogs, and he says that's because of the Dynamite Kid. He's got Harlem Heat, and because they were only in WCW. If they brought him over to WWE, I do admit they could have, with the right push, been major. He also has Haas and Benjamin and says that they existed when WWE wasn't taking tag teams seriously. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro would have been great if they stuck together longer. And Kai and Tai.
Yeah.
Harlem Heat was tag team champions during a time period when WCW was beating the ass of the WWE. So technically, they were over more than any team in the WWE.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, I mean, he's right to a point. I do want to say the New Age Outlaws were about to take over that scene pretty soon, and they were pretty damn over.
Yeah. Which one had better wrestling skills?
I just said who was more over. That's all.
I don't care.
No, that's what this is about.
All right, who do you got next,
All
Dave?
right. We got long-time original listener, Dave One, Randy Osga, and he's got a list for us, and here it goes. The Hollywood One. I feel like I know where a lot of these lists are going. The Thrill Seekers. That's a good list right there. Chris Jericho, Lance Storm. Solid team. I like this team being on the list. The Faces of Fear. Ming and Barbarian. Couple horses, couple badasses. But for whatever reason, neither one of the companies ever pushed these guys to the moon. The Rockers, and here's one you'll love to, Road Scholars. Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow. Both
That's nice. I like that. I like to picture Randy Osga literally wiping the milk off of his hands from the cows to type to you these lists.
Randy, that's your man right there. That's your CM Punk.
All right, speaking of wiping the milk from his hands, we got Jesse from New Hampshire. He's got Eminem, American Alpha, Haas and Benjamin, Doom, and Gallows and Anderson in WWE.
I like he specified WWE because, like AJ was saying earlier, very successful first in LaFon were in Japan. Clearly, Gallows and Anderson were very big in Japan. So I like the specification.
I like the fact that two of his teams were World Tag Team Champions on multiple occasions in the WWE, and they didn't reach their full potential.
Could have been more, damn it.
All right, Dave, who do you got next?
I got the last one besides me on this list, Michael Flynn. He's also got Doug Furnace and Phil LaFon, and he made sure to say this. Actually, Scott did too. They probably could have gone further in WWE had they had more personality.
Or had they been over 5'10".
They were both obviously great athletes. He also has the Eliminators on his list. I like that pick a lot.
That is a great pick.
That is one of my favorites. Cronus, I always wondered what happened to him. Why didn't he quite go further? Another familiar pick, the Hollywood Blonde. And we also have three count. In particular, he wants to say mostly he's talking about Shannon Moore and Shane Helms. Not Epic Courageous. He didn't say nothing happened in Epic Courageous, but I'll say it. And last but not least, I like this pick a lot, Christian York and Joey Matthews of ECW.
Wow. Another good list. All right, my brother brings us another list this week. He's got The Revival, The Ascension, The Rockers, The Natural Disasters, and Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. And I got to say, the only group I think I'd have to disagree with is only The Natural Disasters, because Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel should have been so much more, being like sons of wrestlers and having the talent that they have. Obviously, we've made a case for the Rockers, and the Ascension were so badass in NXT, and then almost got neutered the second they came to Raw.
I'm going to put your brother over. I actually think, even though we're not going to see as many votes, that might have been the best list in terms of teams who actually didn't reach their full potential. Because there are a lot of teams there that didn't really get the pushes there. I would even argue the Natural Disasters, given their time period, given their size, and considering both men, at least Earthquake was in a main event program with Hulk Hogan.
Sorry, I'm going to make a prediction here. Dave's list is coming up. I'm predicting Young Stallion, and I'm predicting Kai and Tai. Just making a prediction ahead.
I predict pain.
Go ahead. Go back to what you were saying.
All right, I'll bring you my list. Dave, you bring us your list, and then AJ can round us out today. I've got The Revival, The Rockers, Doom. I've got Shelton Benjamin, but I've got his team with Brock Lesnar because they did a little time in OVW. And imagine if that Minnesota stretching crew made its way to the main roster. They'd be just an unstoppable tag team. And then you've got American Alpha to round out my top five.
Absolutely. Good call.
Okay. My list, a familiar one, the Skyscrapers. I thought Sid and Spivey just were awesome, had great looks, and for whatever reason, They didn't keep them together.
So Mark Callis sucks?
No, I'm not talking about Mark Callis. I'm talking about Sid and Spivey.
I know. Everybody keeps talking about Sid and Spivey. Everybody keeps freaking not mentioning Mark Callis like he just sucks.
No, it was just that I think Sid and Spivey was the original. That's the one you think of. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Everybody likes the blondes better than the freaking redheaded bastard. I get it.
We like the original. All right. Doug Furnace and Phil LaFon also made my list because I think they could have been more. All right. Also, Joey, Doom. I'm glad you reminded me of that because I almost forgot to put them down, and I was going to put them there earlier. Simmons and Reed, great look, great team. And they've been in another era, not competing with the Steiner brothers, the Road Warriors, and the Samoan SWAT team. Their run might have lasted even longer. Also, Iron Anderson and Bobby Eaton, who held the tag title, but in my opinion, were one of the best tag teams ever. And it's a damn shame from a technical standpoint they didn't have multiple tag team title reigns and been on top longer. So Iron and Bobby, one of the best teams, I think, could have been even more. And last but not least, I also had the Rockers because I thought Marty and Sean were tremendous, and I thought they should have had a long run with WWE tag title.
All right, we're looking at you, AJ.
Yeah,
all right, so this is an easy one. I got to start off with the McGuire twins. Just kidding. First ones on my list were actually the Rougeau brothers. I think the Rougeau brothers were ahead of their time. Their tag team skills and the way that they actually communicated and worked together in the ring was on par with other teams of their generation, like the Heart Foundation and the British Bulldogs. And I don't feel that they ever got the legitimate push that they really deserved.
Is it because they worked in French?
Tag team. It could be, but they were just a true heel tag team, and I would have liked to have seen them have a championship run. So I think they get overlooked.
There were no Quebecers.
Who is though? My number 2 one on the list is going to be a surprise to some people.
It's going to be a surprise to you. You're making it up right now. Go ahead.
Brody and Hanson. Brody and Hanson got broken up by Bill Watts because he wanted them to be singles wrestlers, and they never actually got the opportunity to really get the push that I think they could have been a monster tag team for God knows how long. Another one for me is actually Gordy and Williams. I think Steve Williams and Terry Gordy, had they had a WWE run with their hard-hitting style, obviously similar to LaFon and Furnace, who were huge in Japan. They were gods in Japan. But if they had had more of a WWE run, I think that they could have been one of the biggest tag teams of all time also. I agree with Doom. I think that Doom, had they not broken up too soon, were just absolutely tremendous athletes and could have been incredible. I think their best run, to be honest with you, is with Woman leading them. When you had that sex appeal and then you had the team, absolutely outstanding. And then my last tag team is actually Amish Roadkill and Danny Doran. I think they were a tremendous tag team, and I would have liked to have seen them with a run in a major market. I think that they were not utilized when the WWE had the opportunity to bring in ECW guys, and I think that that's a tag team that could have went over.
I just got one thing to say. Chicken.
Yeah. How's that for making up a list on the fly, motherfuckers?
That's not bad. All right.
I just want to say, too, one more thing, too. I feel so bad for poor Bruiser, Brody, and Stan Hansen getting those singles run. Boy, Bill Ross was really out of his mind. That didn't work out for those guys at all, huh?
Yeah, but it's still...
No money.
Hey, Rod Simmons from Doom went on to win the freaking world title. I'm sure he's really crying about the breakup.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, guys.
All right.
So by my count, the Hollywood Blondes made quite a few lists. So did the Rockers. Yeah. Who would you guys put in that third spot?
Wow.
I mean,
I would go Hollywood Blondes.
Yeah. Well, they're in.
To me, the Rockers, even though they didn't win the championship of the WWE, at least had an opportunity to be on the larger scale.
They're also in.
I don't think the Hollywood Blondes have the opportunity.
They're both in.
He wasn't saying which one should move on. They're both automatically in. We're talking about who's going to be the third guy. Thanks for showing up today. Anyway, I'm going to say the Skyscrapers. They made a lot of lists, too. That's the guy I would think. Or, AJ, I'll let you decide here. Don't you redeem yourself.
Give me two.
Or Furnace and LaFon. Who should move on?
Wow. I would go with the Skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to argue with you, but you picked the one tag team I didn't want to pick.
All right. So it's the Skyscrapers, the Rockers, and the Hollywood Blondes. Do I have to ask who's getting bounced first?
Yeah, see you later, Skyscrapers.
But since we're bouncing them first, let's give a little talk about why we think they're so underrated. Because I know AJ was making a push for the Mark Calloway version, but like Dave, what about the Skyscrapers to you? Like, what made you think they had potential, and then why do you think they just didn't live up to it?
I'm not even sure I would have bounced them first, honestly.
You're on your mind.
I think they had more potential. If you look at the word potential, than any of these teams on here. Sid had a presence and a charisma about him that he headlined multiple WrestleManias. He's been a world champion in WCW and WWE, and still people talk about Sid like he didn't reach his full potential. Throw that with Dan Spivey, who also had the look and was a badass, who the Road Warriors went out. This is the Mark Calloway version. But they went out with the Skyscrapers. Danny ended up beating them down with a chair. Got stiff with them because the Road Warriors weren't taking them seriously or something was going on. And then in the back, he told Mark, be ready when the Road Warriors come out. And Mark Calloway was like, holy shit, these are the Road Warriors. And they went back and they saw Dan Spivey, who took liberties with chair shots, and they said, thanks for the match, Dan. It was great out there.
Okay, thank you for making my argument as to which Skyscrapers was better. However, Dan Spivey, as much of a badass as he was past his prime by that point, could barely freaking move, and was getting ready for the tail end of his career.
He was going to have a great run in WWE as Wailing Mercy.
You mean the 3 months that he was Wailing Mercy before he was too injured to wrestle again?
People's lives are going to be in Wailing Mercy.
However, the total run of the Skyscrapers as a team, what they have, like 3 matches on freaking Clash of the Champions?
Unfortunately, yes, because that's why they didn't live up to their potential, because it was robbed from them politically. They should have been further.
Okay,
so you're saying they have more potential.
Dave, it's not too often I'll pile on and tell you why you're wrong, Dave, but let me tell you why you're wrong. The Skyscrapers, if you want to talk about upfront potential, yes, they were giants, and they should have had the whole wrestling world in front of them. But the Hollywood Blondes was Steve Austin and Brian Pillman.
Hold on.
The Rockers is Shawn Michaels and a dude that murdered a guy and then went on to success. You know, like...
I almost bounced the Rockers. That's what I was going to bounce.
Dude, Marty Jannetty's still out there. He'll get retribution, buddy.
I'm not saying I think you're going to
bounce the Rockers.
But that was the team I was considering bouncing. That's what I wanted to discuss. Not the Blondes. The Blondes won this thing.
First of all you got to do for potential is put Sid up against Shawn. Shawn has the better career and better potential. Marty Jannetty versus Dan Spivey. Marty Jannetty, even after the Rockers broke up, still won the freaking Intercontinental title.
Yeah. Damn shame they didn't put it on Spivey.
All right, guys. We went from 3 to 1 because I feel like AJ just knocked it out of the park with his argument against Dave, and I don't say that often. And, I mean, obviously the Hollywood Blondes are going to win. They were one of those great WCW tag teams that, I mean, they should have had a better run. And you see what they did separately from there. So they went on to really good careers. And
I want to say one thing. Guys, I want to say one thing real quick about Brian Pillman, because you talk about potential on this list. Out of all the tag team wrestlers we talked about on this list, Brian Pillman is probably the most underutilized because of that car accident and the injuries, and then, of course, passing away young. He's probably the most underutilized potential of that whole list. And the fact that we don't know, with his wrestling mind, what he could have been, makes easily the Hollywood Blondes the winner of this list.
Well, it's 2 separate things, but anyway.
All right, guys. Well, you hear the music. You know what that means. The Hollywood Blondes have taken it as the top team that did not reach their potential. And as always, thank you for joining us. If you're finding us on YouTube for the first time, like, subscribe, share. Shit, you're in India. Tell somebody that lives next door to you. We're a fan of you.
Tie and tie.
Kai and Ty will never win it.
Choppy.
You guys have a good week.
See you down the
Bye.
road.
Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us as we do every week. Our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
Hello, this is Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express, and you are listening to the Working Fan Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Working Fans Podcast with Dave and AJ. And today we got National Wrestling Alliance great, the one and only 9-time tag team champion with Robert Gibson, the ultimate babyface, Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing real good, man. Thank you for having me on your show today. You know, it's just another day at the office, my friend.
Awesome to hear, man. Well, let's start right in the beginning. You trained with your father and a guy named Ken Lucas. So Paul Morton, Ken Lucas, how was it breaking into business?
Well, you know, coming from a wrestling family, when I first started, you know, the whole business was different. Really sacred. It was hard to get in. And don't think just because my dad was a wrestler or a referee that I had it easy in any way. Matter of fact, I think it was just a little bit harder. It's the same thing, you know, my son wants to be a wrestler, and it's hard to get your family into the business once you're in there. I mean, for certain people it is anyway. My dad, he spent all his life in the wrestling business. He wrestled in the 50s and 60s, and then he refereed for the Memphis Wrestling, Nick Lewis, and on his times when I broke into the business. You was mentioned earlier about Ken Lucas, but before that route, you know, I had a lot of them. You know, you learned I was partners with a guy named Sonny King. Me and Eddie Gilbert was partners before me and Ken Lucas were. Me and Eddie were in Oklahoma territory together with Leroy McGurk. Skandar Akbar was the booker. And then I left there and I went back to Memphis, and that's when me and Ken Lucas teamed up. Kenny and I, we went to San Antonio for Southwest Championship Wrestling that was owned by Tully Blanchard's dad, Joe Blanchard. And then that's where I first met Tully. Matter of fact, him and Gino Hernandez were partners at that time. And me and Ken Lucas did that. But, you know, and people a lot of times tell me, Ricky Morton, you're one of the greatest baby faces in the world. But what people don't understand is they don't go back. They don't understand the history of professional wrestling. Ken Lucas is one of the greatest baby faces of all time in our business. He just never got the recognition. Nowadays, the people don't know him or knew who he is. Once you get a chance to check him out, go back in the days and look up Ken Lucas. And man, I'm telling you, he'll really blow your mind in our business by telling a story. The psychology in the ring. He was one of the best I ever learned from, man. And to me, he was the greatest of all.
Huh. Hi, Ricky. My name's AJ. I'm the co-host. I actually wrestled for 10 years. I trained with Adrian Street many, many years ago, and then worked through a lot of the South and then up here in the Northeast. And I am like yourself. I'm going to be a little quieter than I normally am, because to me, this is an opportunity to sit under the learning tree. It's the reason why I actually listen to the School of Morton podcast every week, because quite frankly, everything that you say means so much. And I've watched old footage of you and Ken Lucas teaming up together and actually working matches. And I think one of the things that we're missing today is they don't tell the story. People don't work the body parts anymore. They don't work the crowd the same way. And the reason why you were such a great babyface, in my opinion, was just the sympathy that you drew from having those body parts worked over on you and the way you bumped your ass off in the ring. So, Ricky, I just wanted to say thank you for that, and thank you for being on this podcast.
Yeah, you know what, AJ, and thank you for mentioning that. And you see, I do have my wrestling school, and I try to tell people, this is really hard. Just this one simple thing. It's really hard to make the guys to understand that you got to understand our business before you can even do it. Matter of fact, I was at WrestleCade back at Thanksgiving time, which we had, what I'm saying is, but they had the night, on a Friday night, they had, like, a lot of the promoters brought some of their top guys in to wrestle. And I wasn't doing nothing, so I walked over to the Civic Center, and I was going to sit down and watch some of the match. And it really just blew my mind. The first match, I think it started out with a Hurricane Carolina off the top rope to the floor. And then I'm thinking to myself, where the hell are you going to go from here? Nobody knows. And then, after the second match, they asked me, so where'd you go? And I said, dude, I feel like I'm watching Andy Griffith rerun. Every match is the same. You're all doing the same high spots. You're trying to outdo each other. And the one simplest thing that none of you have did all night, I haven't seen one of you grab a wrestling hold. Not a headlock, not an arm.
Right.
It's just like you got a playbook written on your arm, high spot number 1, high spot number 2, high spot number 3, and none of it means nothing. To the average wrestling fan that is today, to them, I don't know. But if you go back in the era of, especially when we worked the Midnight Express and when we worked the Four Horsemen, Robert Nine, me, Russell, and Ric Flair, we told a story. Before, and this is really funny, because we never. And I'm going back to the thing, I tell you a lot about how the business used to be. No, I didn't walk 20 miles barefooted in snow to town. No, nothing like that. But what I'm saying is the baby faces and the heels never talked. You never seen that.
Right.
We were on separate sides of the building. Matter of fact, you get fired if you even got close to a baby face or heel, because our business was sacred. 9 out of 10 times, unless you was at TV, but you didn't go over the mat, all you got was a finish. Me and Robert walking to the ring is normally when we got our finish, and it wasn't this and you got to do that. It's baby face is over or the heel's over. That's all they told you. We'd go out and do our shows, but you see, it's just a different time, different place for our business. But if entertainment part of it, like you watch WWE and you watch these right here. And sometimes, to me, I really get lost just wondering what they're going to do next. And what really blows my mind is I wonder if a lot of people haven't got really, really seriously hurt more than what they are. And it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's really going to happen. Because the guys don't know how to take care of each other no more. I see them on there sometimes just kick the brains out. There's no need for that. If you know how to work in our business, you don't have to do that. And something's going to have to change somewhere around the time. And when it does, that's when Ricky Morton's going to step in. To let these guys understand, it's more to our business than, I was watching TV the other night, and I told my wife, and I says, well, this guy here is fixing to do something really spectacular. She said, how you know? I said, there's 20 guys on the floor going to catch him.
Right, right.
Yeah, man, and things just changed.
Well,
looking forward to, how you doing, one guys? And I know that y'all asked the questions.
No, please, Ricky. No, I was just going to mention.
The new year 2020, but man, 2019, and you go back to TC, NWA, and you see that. But last year, I think Robert and I, at me being 63 years old, had one of the greatest years we had in business.
Right.
I was never on a contract. Never had a contract in my life. Made a lot of people rich. And this is what nobody understands. I stood up to the boys in my day. And it's not the guys in my era or the guys after that. It's the guys right now in our business that respect what Robert and I have done. I don't know. A lot of times, I try to get a job at big companies, not to wrestle, but to work in the back. And it's like I'm a threat to a lot of people. But when you go into the today when they call us in, it's so much respect that these young kids that don't have to, that show Robert and I some of the greatest respect, and they listen to a lot of things that I'm talking about. I'm hoping that 2020 top 2019, especially being at the age I am, because I'm not here in this business to prove a point. I'm not here to be somebody that I'm not. I still depend on wrestling for a living. Like you said, dude, my biggest year in the wrestling business was $125,000, and that was in 1985. I'm hoping to see. That's what I'm saying, and I think that Robert and I did. We paved the roads because I wanted back in 1985 and '86. I knew that our wrestling business, some of our people could be as famous as some of these great football players or great athletes in our business, and what it come to. But see, we got left behind because I'm the one that took the heat for everybody. I mean, and I did. I told promoters I stuck up for the boys, but a lot of it is too. But it's my fault because I wasn't
political.
Go back over again and get my education a lot better. I wasn't educated enough to know what was really going on, but I was educated enough to know that I fought for the boys.
Yeah.
To get them where they're at today.
It's funny, like you were saying, it almost seems like wrestling reflects society in a way. Everybody is nicer and more respectful on one hand, which is really nice. Like, in a sense, I think you do have a lot more understanding in the world now than you did maybe years ago. But on the flip side of that, everything is so fast-paced. And, like, you watch a TV series, now you can watch a whole season in, one sitting. You can just spend, Netflix will just down you a whole series. And I feel like wrestling is kind of that way too. It's just everything is fast, and there's all this crazy stuff happening, like you said. But when I was a kid, I was more glued to it because, you only had wrestling once a week, TV, a lot of enhancement matches. Maybe you get one big main event match, and then you had to go to the arena or buy a pay-per-view. And it just meant more because you had to wait. There wasn't so much of it.
Yeah, but you know what? And I've thought about the same thing. But if these guys would slow down a little bit instead of making something happen, everything happened in one night. You read a great book. You read a great book, but if normally when you write a book, you write the finish first. The ending of the book is written before the rest of the book is. So if they could sit down and just keep you interested in that whole program like a book does until you get to the finish. But now it seems like they're trying to, they write the whole book in one night. And if it ain't working, they change to something else. That's just my opinion. Opinions like your ass. Everybody's got one.
Right.
Well, Rick, I think it also goes back to what you were talking about. When you were talking before, you mentioned the fact that you'll watch the first match and you see somebody doing one of those super hurricanrana flippity flu things in the first match, and you don't go to a movie or a book and see the biggest action happen in the first match, the second match. Back in the good old days, and I love to say that, when wrestling was wrestling and not sports entertainment, what we did was we built matches and built up a storyline to the main event. You weren't trying to have.
Well, when I started in the business, when I first went to Memphis territory, and guys, the Memphis territory was the hottest wrestling bed ever in its time when you had territories. Memphis Coliseum, every Monday night, and it was sold out. Every Tuesday, Louisville, Wednesday, Evansville. But these buildings, we didn't, it's like they come to your town once a year. They sold out every week. Could you imagine WWE coming to the same town every Monday night and doing Monday Night Raw?
Sure. Right.
How many people would you have out in the crowd?
Oh, yeah. Okay. It ain't going to happen.
About 6 weeks, you'd be able to throw a hand grenade in there. It wouldn't hurt nobody.
Right. They're having trouble selling out doing what they're doing.
But what I'm trying to say is now, see the business, when I was in Memphis, if you read the first match, you never do a punch. You work the headlock. Second match, maybe the arm. Third match, maybe that. Then you had your semi-main event, which was an angle on TV, maybe a tag team. And then you had your main event, Lawler or Dundee, whatever it was. And that's just the way it was. Even in my wrestlers, because I try to teach these guys, and I just mentioned this, Even right now, if you watch me wrestle, even though if I'm in there, I will always start my match off just to work up for me to ball my fist up. And, instead of me just going in the ring, my fist up, throwing punches, doing it, I would go to 2 or 3 things where I'm outsmarting the heel, then the heel does something mean or cheats, and it gives me a reason just to ball my fist up. And to try to make people understand that, gosh, I'd be better off winning the lottery, I guess. But don't get me wrong, dude. I mean, I absolutely adore this business. I mean, I love it. It's nothing, they had a saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day of your life.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a bunch of bullshit.
That's good to know.
That's a bunch of bullshit. Okay. I told somebody the other day, man, I says, I wrestle for free. I get paid for traveling.
Right.
And I do. I mean, I love my business. And, it's hard, along the road, in 85 when you work for territories, you never had a day off. And I'm serious. I can remember the times that Rick and I, man, we, I think 17 days in a row we went an hour time limit. And that was 2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. Not counting the TV on Saturday morning. But, it's just the way it was. I mean, that's the way territories were fought. And you got paid by how many butts you put in the seats. And you got paid, the boys depended on you. I didn't work main event just because I was there, and I learned. You could tell you something, dude. I might, Dusty Rhodes was a booker. And I learned so much from Dusty. It's unbelievable. And one day I'll be able to have my ability that somebody will hire me to show what I know in this business. But don't get me wrong, we didn't always get along together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We had our fuses, but I got to say that it was great because we all depended on each other.
I got to tell you, before I forget, I want to get this out. I'm 43 years old, and I saw you wrestle, as a young man, but I can't believe I've seen you live twice, and it was both in 2019. I saw you at an independent show at Beyond Wrestling in New Japan. So when you talk about still going strong, like it's crazy, man.
Oh, man, where'd you see us? What show did you see me at New Japan?
The Mass show.
Yeah, man, that was really cool up there that night. We wrestled Chase Owens.
Yep.
And this guy, Chase is one of my students from my school. Chase is one of the few and far between. He has a good thing going in Japan, but God, man, he can work a match. So unbelievable and tell that story, but I took a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
But thank you. You know what? That's really cool, and I hope you get to see them more. New Japan's got to be back here. We were going to be formed the 24th, but we got to do NWA. We have to do a whole other season of taping, 24th, 25th, and 26th. But then we leave straight from there. We go to New Japan shows again. Matter of fact, I think we're going to be in Raleigh, Miami, and Nashville, Atlanta. So
Ricky,
I'm looking forward to that.
Ricky, how do you feel about the NWA being back? Is that got to be exciting?
Yeah, it's exciting. And it's another thing, and stop to think about this. It's not me trying to be something that I'm not. Like I'm keep repeating myself. When they tell us they're going to put the belts on us, I really was skeptical of it. But then I understood what they were doing, okay? Man, you keep watching this series because I don't give spoiler works, but it works into where me and Nick Addis has a match. It's really cool. I want you guys to watch that match.
Oh, yeah, we've been watching every week.
We saw this Tuesday, we saw you come out at the end and you stole the show.
Yeah.
With just the altercation.
Yes, and you see, and this is what, really listen to this right here. It's like those guys that work there. Wild Card Thomas.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. See, a lot of people just don't understand how good he is. And you see, it's not what he does, it's what he don't do when I get in the ring with him. This is my talk. I really don't like, and I still can't say, bro, I ain't bullshitting. I still believe in my business. But there's the things that he does in the ring with me that makes me look like I'm 19 years old because he knows. And I didn't have to tell it. And that's what I like about it. That's what our business is missing today. And a lot of you guys, everybody listen, it ain't what you do, it's what you don't do. And it's the greatest things in the world. keep watching NWA because it only gets better. I promise you it does. They have a lot of great talent on there, guys. A lot of great talent. And I love to sit in the back and just watch them. They do a lot of great things on there, and I don't know how far to go. But I hope it lasts forever because right now it's a great show, great ratings. And I know that the pay-per-view, they was hoping for this much, and they got 6 times that.
Oh, nice.
So I thought it was pretty good. Yes.
Ricky, one of the things that I appreciate that you're doing is that you don't go too far into it and that you do keep some of the mystique that is the wrestling. Having worked for the 10 years, one of the things that I told these guys when we started the podcast is that I will never go into exactly what we do, what kind of things we communicate with each other, how we do things in the ring. And the reason why I don't do that is because at the end of the day, it's like a great magician. You don't go to a magic show wanting to know how to do the trick. You go to a magic show to be entertained. And if we tell everybody every little thing that we do and how we do it, it takes away from the wrestling that we love so much.
Yeah, but you see, man, nowadays everywhere you go, and I hate this, guys walk up to you and they think that they're giving you the wrestler's handshake.
Oh, God, I hate that.
They don't have a damn clue what it even means. And they look at you like I'm supposed to be. Look here, bud. You don't have a clue what you just did to me.
Yeah.
You don't even understand what that means. And whoever told you what that means, or if they're the ones that trained you, they have no business even training you.
I agree.
I meet a lot of guys, and if you're interested in being a professional wrestler, you have to go to somebody that knows what they're doing, how to train you. You just can't go. I talk to people all the time. Who trained you? So-and-so. What the hell is this place at? Or what's this guy's name? I never even heard of him before. What's he doing training you? What company do you ever work for? And it's nothing. And then they expect to get in the ring with me, and it don't happen. But, every now and then, buddy, I hit the lottery. I get in the ring with some guys that are really phenomenal. And I'm going to say one of them right now is Santana and Ortiz, the LEX that used to be. Well, and I'm going to kayfabe my business too, but I'm going to tell you this: there's 2 guys. Wherever they got and wherever they going, they deserve it. They are absolutely phenomenal in the ring.
Wow!
And and I'm serious. The great matter of fact is, I guess they're the ones that put Robert and I back on the map, really, to tell you the truth. And I don't have, I'm not ashamed to say that. They're a real big deal in AEW, which next Wednesday night I will be back.
Oh, no kidding. Awesome.
Next Wednesday, the 8th, I'll be back on AEW. I'm looking forward to going there because what I'm saying to you is the guys now that still take care of Robert and I. Because, and what I was telling you earlier, I don't know if I'll finish it, I still depend on wrestling to make a living, guys.
Right.
And I do. And like I was telling you earlier, I just not be being on TV trying to be something that I'm not. This is the only thing I know. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a doctor's degree. I barely have a high school education. But wrestling, I have a PhD in. And these guys, these days, and that's what I appreciate. They're the ones that take care of this NWA, all these guys, and they treat me with the most upright respect that you could ever imagine, fellas. And don't think I don't ever appreciate that, and don't think that before I leave that building, I'll let everybody in that building know how I feel. Meet a lot of young guys with a lot of great talent on the independent circuit. But our business is not based on, which I'm going back to the wrestlers, because it's not based on what you do. It's just being at the right place at the right time. And being at the right place at the right time is when somebody asks you to do something, you know how to do it. There's no questions asked. There's nothing that you know what they're talking about and know how to do it, because that's how you get our jobs. Same thing I was saying, people like me and people like it in our wrestling business. I even say this, even Hunter Henson, he even watched him. He can know if you know how to work or not. But see, you don't go in the ring and start the match off with a hurricane cry. You understand me? I can look at guys and tell them if they know how to work or not. I look at guys and tell them if I'm going to do anything that night, because I don't want them to hurt me. I still got to wrestle next weekend to pay my bills, and that's just the way. I don't know what track I got up on, but buddy, I'm way out there right now. Okay.
Ricky, speaking of being in the right place at the right time, we did an interview earlier today with Nikita Koloff, and he was telling us a story, and he didn't tell us the full story because he said you tell the story much better than he does, where as a very green and young Nikita was in the ring for one of his first couple matches that he got to wrestle.
I could take it over from here.
Go ahead.
I can take it. I know exactly where you're going to. Robert and I there, at the time when we come into NWA, Nikita was there, but he hadn't been. You have to be in a ring to work and learn our business. It takes you a long time. We was doing most of the work with Barry Dorso and Ivan Koloff, and here comes Nikita in the ring. And is it all right to say? I mean, I have said a couple of bad words.
Ricky, you can say
you can say whatever you want. Yeah, anything. That's all good.
I get in the ring, I start the match off with Nikita, and I lock up with him and see, this is the part about training. God, man, he headbutted me so hard, I almost knocked me out. And I went, holy crap. And I rubbed my head, and I went, okay, accident. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then I locked up with him again, headbutted me again.
Oh.
Holy crap. And maybe I'll tell you another good story, but remind me another one. That butted me again, and I walked over, I was rubbing my head, and I walked over to Robert, and I said, Robert, pull this big son of a bitch off me. I went to lock up with him again. When he do, I threw my elbow up there, and it hit him in the eye, and it split his eye wide open.
Oh, man.
He was cussing, hollering, and screaming, and fighting, blah, blah, blah. But then when I locked up with him the third time, he had that head all the way back. He didn't headbutt me no more.
There you go. All right.
I hope that's what he told you.
Oh, yeah.
Another one like that, Johnny, at this time, this is LBJ. He used to wrestle as Johnny Hawk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When we first broke into business. Oh, yeah. And, that's when we were for Crockett. That's when he moved to Dallas. Took, NWA went to Dallas after WCW and bought him out. So, all that stuff. So, forgot me and Robert working with him and somebody, and he told I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not because he's a big bad dude. You hear me? So I told him, I said, "Snatch the hell out, give me a big towel." Well, but he hit that rope, and he hit me so hard that it damn near knocked me through the ropes to the floor. And the same thing, I rolled back in the ring, and I told Robert, I says, "Come in here and pull this son of a bitch off me." And I told him, I says, he got me the turnbuckle, and I said, man, give me a turnbuckle, come charging fast as you can. And when he come charging as fast as he can, I come out of that turnbuckle, and I hit him hard as I can, right in the mouth. But boom, but you see, he's a big, tough, bad guy. And then when I hit him real hard, he looked at me so pitiful, and he goes, what did you do that for? and I looked at him. I went, because I'm just a dumb son of a bitch, I guess. I'm just because it didn't phase it. You understand me? And he goes, was that a receipt? I says, yeah, I think so. Then I walked over to tag Robert.
Oh, man.
But if you ever see him, ask him about that. I mean, it's really a great story.
Awesome.
Cool.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, too, because you were talking about your school and you talked about training and people think. We had Al Snow on here about a couple months ago, and he runs a school down Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was telling us the same thing, basically, that there's a lot of people who probably shouldn't be training today, and that back in the day that you were a reflection of where you came from, that he said if he did anything wrong, even to this day, like he would hear about it from his trainer, and you get blackballed.
So, see, in my day, I worked the territory.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about guys like you were tough. Gypsy Joe, all them guys. They would give you one spot, and if you messed it up, they didn't hurt you, but they just ate your lunch. They trapped you hard. They hit you across the back hard. And you didn't get another spot. You hear me?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. That's the way you did learn. I said a lot of crazy stuff in this business. But, when you was one in the business, he didn't try to hurt you, but they try to make you learn. And it's like me when I send some of my guys out. See, it's my responsibility to make them do that. Matter of fact, one of my guys went to Al Snow's Ring of Honor. His name's Luscious Lawrence. You get a chance to check him out. He's unbelievable. He's going to be He's going to be a superstar in our business. You know, I have a little school down here in Chuckey, Tennessee, out in the middle of nowhere, where we train 3 times a week. But it's for the boys. You know, they go for me, and I was glad that he went to Ohio Valley to get out because he gets more exposure. And if you guys get a chance, man, maybe you know what? We're probably this Sunday we'll have a live show on YouTube. I have live shows on YouTube. Off the School of Morton. We do a lot of stuff on there, man. We have our own productions. We have, matter of fact, we come on CWTV Eastern Time every Saturday at 12:30. We do a lot. I have a lot of good guys there that, you know what, man, and I just want them to live out their dream. Even if they don't make it, I can give them a chance, because my thing is to teach them about no matter what you become or what you do, is to never give up. When I first broke into business, I was told that I would never make it in the business. I was too small, which at the time, wrestling was different. You know, you didn't have the big bodybuilder guys, which you did, a few of them, but a lot of them were 400 or 500 pounds, just big old guys. And you see, our business did change for the best because of that. Because nowadays, even though we're our entertainment, dude, if you're not in physical shape, if you're not a real professional athlete, you're not going to make it 5 minutes in the ring. You have to train, you know. I guess, AJ, you can understand me. You got to train to take bumps. You just can't go in the ring and do. You know, I have guys that come into my school every now and then. You'll have a prick that walks in there that thinks he knows everything, and I want to be a professional wrestler. And I says, okay, really? Yeah, I can do this. Anybody can do this.
Oh, Jesus.
And I don't know, and I just tell myself, I just roll in the ring, and I just want you to hit the ropes 20 times. Okay. And I know, and if you're a wrestler, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
And you never hit them ropes. Look here, about that 8th time he hit it, he rolled out of the ring, grabbed his phone, he says, I have an emergency, I got to go. And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to go, fella.
Back to what you were talking about, Ricky. When I trained with Adrian Street, he had that old-fashioned mentality of training, and it was a good way of training that he would teach me the holds, and he would teach me obviously how to take bumps and stuff of that nature. But if I didn't do holds right with him, he would sink it in a little deeper on me, or he would change the angle a little bit. And next thing you know, I was hooting and hollering like a little schoolgirl. And I'm 6'3", 280 pounds.
Have you ever heard about the dungeon from Stu Hart?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, yes. You know, I have a dungeon in my school, but I don't use it for that. You know, the world's changed now.
I'm planning on this year.
You know, Adrian, you know, and everybody didn't know, you know, Adrian was a tough guy. And I'm telling you what, Linda was tougher than him.
Oh, yeah.
We heard. Yeah.
Oh, yes. His wife, I absolutely love Adrian. Man.
Having gone out for drinks with the two of them, oi.
Yeah. I was in the era where I got to work with him a lot in Memphis and in Louisiana. Adrian's the only guy in the world I know that could work your cheek, you know, in a match. You ever did that to you?
Oh, God, yes.
AJ,
absolutely.
Cheek. Some of the greatest stuff in the world that nobody even imagined that made it different.
I'll tell you, people thought that I was making up some of the stuff that I told them about my training with Adrian Street. And then WWF did that special this year on Adrian Street. And he talked about the stuff that he did that these guys didn't realize that he had done. And they're like, holy shit, you were telling the truth. Because they couldn't believe he did that.
And, you have that. You know, that over in England and all that place, Adrian Street, man, he was one of those guys, you know, he was a killer. You know, I first met Adrian. Did he ever tell you about the Russian pretzel hoat?
Oh, God. Please. Oh, that's just a nightmare. Oh, my God, I'm having flashbacks.
Well, this is what I call it, the Russian pretzel hoat, because, you know, once Adrian put it on you, you couldn't get out of it. And Adrian did. He got it on me, and then I got out of it. And he asked me, he says, how did you get out of it? I said, well, first of all, Adrian, when you put that on me, I looked up and I seen a big set of balls. It's amazing what you do when you bite your own nuts.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
But no, guys, I hope I didn't offend nobody else.
No,
that's
please,
awesome.
Ricky. When they put me in it, it was like being there with a boa constrictor. The more I tried to fight, the farther I felt like I was trapped.
You know what? When he said, when I left the part out, he said, "How'd you get out of us?" And so when I looked up at that brush of pretzel hold, I said, "A big set of balls." And then I said, "It's amazing what you do when you bite your own nuts." You know.
Oh goodness!
Adrian, I have a lot of good times with Adrian. We worked territories together. You had to take care of each other. You know, if I was hurt, we couldn't do things. And when you was working on top of that territory, you know, it's a whole different standard because you got to carry the territory. Make sure that people believe in what you're doing. Seeing me, even at being 63, when I go to the ring, I try, unless, you know, but I try to make the people believe what I'm doing. And that's a secret of our business, too. When I sell, if I can convince the guy on the front row that whatever the heel's doing to me, that's what's really happening. And then that's when you learn. If you're out there and you're a good heel and you're a good baby face, you can actually learn how to sell one punch better than you can 47. You can sell one kick better than you can 300. And you guys know where I'm going to from this.
Absolutely.
It's just too much. You know, in real life, if you stomp me in the head 30 times, I'm not getting up.
No.
Not today, not tomorrow, not next week.
Watch an MMA fight.
You've got to stop to understand.
I was saying, watch an MMA fight. That's not how that works. You know?
Yeah, I got you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Hey, I know that I'll be able to interview with you fellas. Anything quick you want to ask me earlier? Because I'm going to Pigeon Forge to meet my wife.
Oh, yeah.
No,
And I'm
absolutely.
going to get up early in the morning, and I got to go to Durham, North Carolina. What's that?
I said, no problem. We only had two more things, actually. Yeah, we were going to ask you if you got any great road stories, and then if there's anything else you want to talk about, your school or promote.
Yeah, I got a lot of great road stories, but I probably caused a lot of divorces.
Just pick one you can tell.
Right off my bat right now, I don't know. No, but we did a lot of things on the road together.
Yeah.
You know what? I tell you, the first time I ever went into Louisiana for Bill Watts, that's when Jim Duggan and Magnum TA were there. And, dude, there's a place called the Lighthouse in Alexandria, and they told me it was real asshole. Me and Robert, that's where we lived at, in Alexandria, and we got into Tearwood off that night, and I walk in, I see his hacksaw Jim Duggan, and I see Magnum TA, he went to the best, and then all of a sudden something happened. And I seen a guy come running by with a tar or two in his hand. And Magnum TA was chasing him. But he hit Magnum in the back of the head, that tar, but he's chasing him. And then I look up, and here comes, it's like, man, what they would film in a movie. Jim Duggan is on the hood of a truck.
Oh, Jesus.
Holding on to it, and they're going across the park a lot, 100 miles an hour. The guy hits his brakes. Jim Duggan comes off of it, rolls about 6 times, and the guy's got the truck in reverse, and Jim Duggan's chasing the truck. That was my first night in the Louisiana territory.
Wow.
Yeah, that was close. I have some really good stories I could tell, but I just don't like telling them on the podcast.
No
please,
problem.
Ricky,
No problem.
please.
These.
Yeah, we don't want to get anybody in trouble, Ricky.
No. What is the second question?
Actually, is there anything you want to promote, your school or whatever? Go right for it.
Oh, yeah, man, please. I love seeing you guys. Everybody out there, you guys, too. Just go on Facebook, School of Morton, and check it out and go through it. Everything there is done is really great. And for a guy with no education, check it out. We do everything there at our school. Another thing, if you're interested, I'm in a babyface Ricky Morton on Instagram. A lot of places, you see a lot of good stuff on there. I'm always at the back doing a lot of good stuff. And then regular Facebook, Ricky Morton. This weekend, tomorrow night, I'll be in Durham, North Carolina. I'll be in Spartanburg, the legendary home of NWA, buddy. One of our greatest places that we ever wrestled at. And then next Wednesday, guys, I'll be back at AEW every Tuesday night on YouTube, or you'll see NWA wrestling. And, buddy, it's old school wrestling. Y'all check it out. I really love being a part of that company. Matter of fact, I love being a part of all the companies because it used to be around the boys. The boys is what I stood up for all my life. And that's who I am. I love being around them. And if you guys get a chance to come and see us again, please come.
Will do.
And tell me who you are. And I'll take you to back and show you some things that you never even thought about. Okay?
Ricky,
sounds
that
great.
sounds fantastic. Ricky, we really
Hey, man, thank y'all for having me on the show. And God, and to me, I just tell you, I believe in God, and y'all, God bless you, and be careful through that. I hope this 2020 is going to be great to you.
Yes.
And just take it for what it's worth, and never take a day for granted, buddy. Okay? Know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Guys, thank you for listening to the 531 here on YouTube this week. If you like what you hear, you can always find us on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and on the Apple Podcast where you can subscribe and also give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate you listening. We want your feedback, 531, and if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, we also want you to let us know. And let us know what your 531 would be. Come up with a top 5 and let us know, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. And in order for us to do that, please contact us on Twitter. We're at Fans Working. Facebook page, Working Fans Wrestling Pod. Email workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. It's very important that you actually contact us on these platforms because we want this to be your interactive place to talk wrestling.